the clinking of cutlery, the hum of laughter, and the aroma of roasted chicken filled the dining room. To an outsider, the Khan family looked picture-perfect, a loving mother fussing over the dishes, a proud father smiling at his children, and the son sitting beside his wife, gently brushing her hand under the table. But among the smiles, one pair of eyes watched with a hidden fire, those of the sister-in-law, Samira. Samira was always the first to welcome her brother's wife, Aisha, with an embrace at family dinners. "My favorite Bobby," she would say, in her sing-song tone, planting a kiss on Aisha's cheek. She complimented her clothes, asked about her work, and poured juice into her glass as though she were the most caring sister anyone could ask for. To everyone else, she was the picture of affection. But inside, Samira boiled. It wasn't that Aisha had ever wronged her. In fact, Aisha had been nothing but kind. She had brought gifts on Eid, remembered birthdays, and even taken Samira out, shopping when she first joined the family. But Samira couldn't shake the sting of envy. Her brother, Imran, had always been hers to lean on, the one who listened when their parents scolded her, the one who paid her tuition fees when she couldn't find a job. He had been her protector, her closest confidant. Then Aisha had walked in, and suddenly his world revolved around another woman. The resentment grew like a weed. At the dinner table, Samira leaned across, flashing a warm smile. "So, Aisha," she said sweetly, "didn't you say your office friend was texting you late at night again? Imran, you should hear how persistent that man is. It sounds like more than just friendship." The table fell silent for a moment. Imran frowned, his hand tightening on the fork. "What friend?" Aisha's face flushed. "That's not true, Imran. He only asked about a project deadline." "Samira is exaggerating." Samira let out a small laugh, waving her hand as if brushing off her own words. "Oh, come on, I'm just joking. Don't take it so seriously. Aisha, you're too sensitive." But the seed was planted. Later that night, when they returned home, Imran asked Aisha quietly, "Who's been texting you?" The softness in his tone was laced with suspicion. Aisha tried to explain, but she could already see the doubt flicker in his eyes, and she knew exactly where it had come from. Family dinners became a battlefield Aisha never signed up for. Samira's strategy was subtle. She would praise Aisha publicly. "Imran, your wife cooks so well, you're lucky." But later slip in comments to their mother. "Did you notice she barely spends time with us? Always busy with her own friends?" She would hug Aisha goodbye at the door, but whisper into her brother's ear, "Don't you think she's getting distant?" The brilliance of Samira's manipulation was in its invisibility. Nobody suspected her malice because she wrapped it in sweetness. To the family, she was the doting sister. To Aisha, she was a shadow that followed her everywhere. At first, Aisha brushed it off as insecurity, but the rumors grew. One cousin mentioned how they heard she wasn't adjusting well in the family. Another aunt asked why she and Imran seemed tense lately. Aisha was stunned. Where were they hearing this? Then she would glance across the room and see Samira smiling innocently, pouring tea as though she had no idea. One evening, Aisha decided to confront the situation in her own way. She pulled Samira aside in the kitchen away from listening ears. "Samira," she said carefully, "if I've done something to upset you, tell me directly. Don't twist things in front of Imran. I can feel it. You're trying to create misunderstandings between us." Samira's eyes widened with feigned shock. "Me? Bobby, how could you even think that? I love you like a sister. You're imagining things." Her tone was so smooth, so convincingly innocent, that for a moment Aisha doubted herself. Maybe she was imagining it. Maybe she was too defensive. But when she returned to the living room, Imran was already looking at her differently. His brows furrowed, as though Samira's invisible words were already lodged in his head. The turning point of that night came when Samira's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smirked. Oh no, she sighed dramatically. One of my friends saw Aisha at the mall last week with a man. Imran, I'm sure it's nothing, but I thought you should know. Families shouldn't keep secrets. The room froze. Imran stared at his wife. Aisha's jaw dropped. That's a lie. I was with my coworker, Fatima, buying clothes for a charity drive. But the doubt had already done its work. Imran didn't say anything, but the silence between them grew heavier that night. For days afterward, Aisha felt trapped in her own marriage. The more she tried to explain herself, the more defensive she sounded. Imran, who once trusted her blindly, began to ask quiet questions. Where were you today? Who called you just now? Questions that stung because she knew they weren't his own. They were Samira's. Every time they visited his parents, Samira's smile would greet her like a mask. Aisha started dreading the family dinners. She could sense the whispers, the sideways glances, the judgment, all carefully orchestrated by one woman who smiled too sweetly. Aisha knew she had to find a way to expose the truth. But how do you prove malice when it wears the face of love? And so, while the family laughed around the dinner table, while Samira poured tea and cracked harmless jokes, Aisha sat in silence, her heart pounding with the knowledge that her marriage was under attack from within the very walls of their family. The smile at the table was just the beginning. The words echoed in Aisha's head long after the dinner ended. Maybe we should take some time apart. Imran's voice had been calm, almost gentle, but the impact was devastating. As they drove home in silence, Aisha stared out the window, her heart breaking with each passing streetlight. She couldn't believe it had come to this, all because of one woman's jealousy, one woman's lies. That night, she cried herself to sleep, while Imran lay stiffly beside her, staring at the ceiling. The once warm home felt like a prison, the air heavy with mistrust. But deep inside, Aisha's pain transformed into resolve. She refused to let her marriage be destroyed by deceit. If Samira wanted to play games, Aisha would fight back with the truth. The opportunity came sooner than expected. The very next day, while Imran was at work, Aisha visited his parents' house. She greeted her in-laws politely, then asked if she could speak to Samira alone. They stepped into the small sitting room, and Aisha shut the door behind them. I'm done staying silent, she said, her voice firm. You've lied about me for months, and now my marriage is breaking because of you. Why, Samira? What have I ever done to you? Samira gave a small laugh, feigning innocence. Oh, Bobby, you're so dramatic. I never lied. I only told Imran what I saw or heard. Aisha's eyes narrowed. No, you created it. I proved it once, and I'll prove it again. The only reason you keep going is because you think he'll always believe you. But sooner or later, the truth will come out, and when it does, you'll lose him forever. For the first time, Samira's mask slipped. Her eyes hardened, and her voice dropped low. You took him from me, she hissed. He was my brother before he was your husband. He used to care about me, spend time with me, protect me. But now, you've made him forget who he belongs to. And I won't let that happen. Aisha's stomach twisted. This wasn't about marriage or family reputation. It was about possession. Samira's jealousy ran deeper than she had imagined. From that day on, Aisha began gathering evidence. She kept a small notebook hidden in her dresser, recording every lie Samira told, every time Imran confronted her with a new rumor, every discrepancy in Samira's stories. She also enlisted Fatima again, asking her to quietly spread word among mutual friends that if anyone heard gossip about Aisha, they should tell her directly where it came from. Within weeks, the pattern was clear. Every rumor, every whisper, every sighting traced back to Samira. But the real breakthrough came unexpectedly. One afternoon, while Aisha was at her in-law's house, helping her mother-in-law with laundry, Samira's phone buzzed on the sofa. Without thinking, Aisha glanced at the screen. A message preview read, Make sure you say you saw her with a man again. Imran trusts you. This will break them apart for good." Her breath caught. The message was from one of Samira's friends, the very people she had been using to back up her lies. Aisha quickly snapped a photo of the screen before Samira returned. Her hands shook as she saved the evidence. This was it. The smoking gun she had been waiting for. That evening, Aisha sat across from Imran at the dining table, her heart pounding. "Imran," she began softly, "I need you to listen with an open mind. Please." He looked at her warily but nodded. She slid her phone across the table. On the screen was the photo of Samira's message. Imran's eyes scanned it, his brow furrowing. He read it once, then again, then a third time. His hands clenched around the phone. "What is this?" he demanded. "It's proof," Aisha said quietly. "Proof that your sister has been lying. She's been planning this from the start, Imran. Every rumor, every accusation, it all came from her. She wants to break us apart." For a long moment, Imran sat frozen. Then he pushed back his chair abruptly and stormed out of the house. The maid confrontation was explosive. When Imran burst into his parents' house, Samira was lounging on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, startled, as her brother threw the device onto the table. "Explain this," he shouted, Samira's face drained of color. I don't know what—" "Don't lie to me." His voice shook with rage. "All this time, you've been poisoning me against my own wife. You said you saw her with a man. You said people were talking, but it was you. It was always you." Tears welled in Samira's eyes, but they weren't the tears of guilt. They were of desperation. I only did it because I love you. You've changed since she came. You don't care about me anymore. I just wanted things to be the way they used to be." Imran stared at her in disbelief. "You destroyed my peace. You almost destroyed my marriage. And for what? Your selfishness?" Their parents, drawn by the shouting, rushed into the room. Imran turned to them, his face red with fury. "Do you know what your daughter has done? She tried to break my marriage apart with lies, for months." Gasps filled the room. His mother clutched her chest. His father shook his head in shock. Samira tried to defend herself, sobbing and insisting she had acted out of love, but the evidence on her phone was undeniable. The fallout was brutal. Samira was scolded harshly by her parents. Her reputation in the family shattered. No one looked at her with the same respect anymore. Where once she had been the doting daughter and loving sister, now she was the jealous snake who had tried to destroy her own brother's happiness. Imran, guilt-ridden, returned home that night to his wife. He found Aisha sitting quietly on the bed, her eyes swollen from crying. He knelt before her, his voice breaking. "Aisha, I don't know how to apologize. I let her poison me. I doubted you when I should have trusted you. Please, forgive me." Tears slid down Aisha's cheeks. "You broke my heart, Imran. But I still love you. And love means fighting for each other, not against each other. If you're willing to rebuild, so am I." He pulled her into his arms, holding her as though he'd never let go again. Months passed. Healing wasn't easy. Aisha still carried scars from the constant suspicion, and Imran wrestled with guilt for letting his sister manipulate him. But slowly, trust was rebuilt. They went on small trips together, spoke openly about their feelings, and set boundaries with family. Samira, meanwhile, lived in the shadow of her actions. No longer welcomed into private conversations, no longer trusted with family matters, she sat alone at gatherings, watching her brother and his wife laugh together, stronger than ever. The very bond she had tried to break now shone brighter than before, forged in fire and pain. And every time Aisha caught Samira's eye across the room, she saw not the smiling mask of a dutiful sister-in-law, but the hollow stare of a woman who had destroyed herself with jealousy. Love had survived. But trust, once broken, left scars that would never fully fade. And Samira learned the harshest truth of all. In trying to keep her brother for herself, she had lost him forever. The whispers grew louder. Not in volume, but in effect. Samira had mastered the art of suggestion, little comments here and there that festered like poison in Imran's heart. "You know, Bai," she said one afternoon while folding laundry. Beside him, "Aisha is very independent. It's good, but sometimes I wonder if she even needs family. She barely calls Ami anymore." Imran frowned, glancing at the phone lying on the table. True, Aisha hadn't called his mother that week. She had been swamped at work. But Samira's tone made it sound like deliberate neglect. Another time, she sighed dramatically after a phone call. "Oh, my friend saw Aisha at a cafe again, with a man. She says it looked intimate, but maybe it's nothing. I don't want to cause problems." And though Imran nodded, brushing it off outwardly, the words burned holes inside him. That night he lay beside his wife, unable to sleep. He stared at the ceiling, wondering if the rumors were true. Aisha noticed the change. Her once affectionate husband now carried an invisible distance. He still loved her. She could feel it in the way his hand lingered on hers, but there was doubt. A silent third person between them, whispering mistrust into their marriage. She tried to fight back with kindness. She cooked his favorite meals, planned small outings, laughed at his tired jokes. But no matter how warm she was, she couldn't compete with the steady drip of Samira's poison. At the next family gathering, the poison turned public. The living room was full of cousins and aunts. Teacups clinked, children played on the carpet, and conversation flowed easily. Then, out of nowhere, Samira leaned in with a faux concerned look. "Bye," she said sweetly. "I don't want to embarrass Aisha, but I think you should know. She was at the mall again with that same man. People are starting to talk." The room went silent. All eyes turned to Aisha. Aisha's cheeks burned. "That's a lie! I was shopping with Fatima, as I've told you before." Samira tilted her head, smiling innocently. "I'm sure you were, Bobby, but others don't see it that way. I'm only telling Imran so rumors don't hurt our family's name." The damage was done. Even if no one believed her completely, doubt lingered in the air. An aunt whispered something under her breath. A cousin smirked knowingly. Aisha wanted to sink into the ground. Imran stood up abruptly. "We're leaving," he said, his tone sharp. He grabbed his keys and stormed out, leaving Aisha to follow in stunned silence. The car ride home was suffocating. The only sound was the hum of the engine. Finally, Aisha broke the silence. "Imran, please, you can't believe her. You know me better than that." He gripped the steering wheel tightly. "I don't know what to believe anymore, Aisha. Everywhere I go, someone has a story about you. Do you think they're all lying?" Tears welled in her eyes. "Yes, they're all coming from one person. Your sister." Imran slammed his hand against the steering wheel. "Don't start blaming Samira. She's always looked out for me." "She has no reason to lie." The words cut deeper than any knife. When they reached home, Aisha locked herself in the bedroom and cried. She had never felt so alone. She realized then that Samira's greatest weapon wasn't just lies. It was trust. Imran trusted his sister blindly, and as long as that remained true, Aisha didn't stand a chance. Over the next weeks, the situation worsened. Small arguments turned into shouting matches. A missed phone call from Aisha sparked accusations. A late arrival from work led to slammed doors. The marriage that once felt unshakable now stood on the edge of collapse. Samira, of course, played the dutiful sister. She called Aisha Bobby John in front of others, hugged her warmly, and pretended nothing was wrong. But when alone with Imran, she whispered, "Poison." She doesn't respect you, Bai. She doesn't fit into our family. She's hiding things from you. And Imran listened. One evening, Aisha decided she couldn't endure it anymore. She needed proof. She began paying closer attention at family dinners. She noticed how Samira always caught Imran alone before meals, whispering in his ear. She noticed how Samira avoided saying cruel things directly. She always framed them as concerns or rumors from others. So Aisha made a plan. She called her friend Fatima, the very same co-worker Samira had used in her lies. "Can you do me a favor?" she asked. "Next time we meet, let's make sure Samira sees us, but we'll record the whole thing." Fatima agreed, furious at how her name was being dragged into the mess. The trap was set. A week later, Aisha and Fatima met at a cafe, deliberately choosing a table near the window. Aisha spotted Samira lurking at a distance, pretending to browse shops. Perfect. They chatted loudly about work, laughing occasionally. Fatima discreetly recorded everything on her phone, every word, every laugh, every innocent gesture. Not once did a man appear at their table. Not once did anything inappropriate happen. That evening, as expected, Imran confronted her again. "Samira said you were at the cafe with him again." Aisha calmly pulled out her phone. "Watch this," she showed. Him, the video. Him, the imaginary man. The cafe. All of it. A lie. Imran's face paled. For the first time, doubt shifted. Not toward Aisha, but toward his sister. But Samira wasn't finished. When Imran confronted her the next day, she burst into tears. "I only told you what I heard. People told me they saw her. I didn't want you to be blindsided. You think I'd lie to hurt you, Bai?" Her sobs, her trembling hands, her victim act. It worked. Imran's anger softened. "Maybe you were misled," he said slowly. And just like that, Samira wriggled out of the trap. But something had changed. Imran no longer trusted her blindly. Seeds of suspicion now pointed back at her, and Samira could feel her grip slipping, so she decided to strike harder. The next family dinner became the battleground. The house buzzed with relatives again, everyone seated around the long dining table. Aisha sat stiffly, her hands folded in her lap, bracing herself for whatever Samira had planned. And sure enough, halfway through the meal, Samira cleared her throat dramatically. "Bai, I need to say something. I can't stay silent anymore." The room hushed. She looked straight at Aisha, her eyes glistening with false sadness. "I'm sorry, Bobby, but I saw you myself last week, with a man. You can deny it all you want, but I know what I saw." Gasps erupted around the table. Imran froze. Aisha's face drained of color. This wasn't a rumor. This wasn't secondhand gossip. This time, Samira claimed it as her own witness. And for the first time, Imran spoke words that shattered Aisha's heart. Maybe we should take some time apart." The room went silent. Samira lowered her eyes, hiding her smirk behind her teacup. The poison had spread too deep.